So I apologise if I haven't been particularly organised. A lot going on right now. But hopefully I can give you some sort of insight into what it's like for young people to try and work within trying to promote change in climate change, biodiversity loss, and nature in general. What I'm going to be talking about is involving youth in action around climate change, but also any kind of biodiversity and projects. So I am going to say I'm not speaking for all youth. It's just a generation. I mean, as we all are different people. But I'm going to be talking from my understanding of working with other young people who have been interested in promoting change within our communities. So as kindly said, yes, I'm Kitty, I'm 16, and I have a deep passion for wildlife, but also as a human, I just see all the things that are going on around the world and see it's my responsibility to try and do my best possible to promote better practices. I will also flick to a slide which talks about Earthing Action, which is I'm just going to give you a brief overview. It's a youth action kind of group which we run for young people who can't access, for whatever reason, other nature groups or environmental groups or social justice groups. And just a place for them to have support from other young people and promote action within each other, kind of motivating each other. There you go. Sorry. So I'm also going to be, first of all, I'm going to be talking about how to engage more youth in environmental conversations. And I have just gone through high school, so I'm not going to say I'm the world expert on young people, but I have pretty good understanding of people's perceptions and ideas around climate change and nature in our communities. And I think there's a huge disconnect between young people and nature. You probably have seen people like Greta Thunberg reaching the headlines and other really fantastic young climate activists, but it isn't necessarily reflected throughout all young people. And I don't think this is because young people lack the passion or the interest to do more action, but in fact, it's the enabling young people. From around the age of 10, it's hard to find groups to volunteer in even. I mean, you'd think, oh, there's loads of youth groups, and yes, that's fantastic, but one specific about empowering youth to do work, far and few between, and actually finding your community is harder than one would think. So, it's not surprising that young people aren't necessarily hugely active. I mean, earlier, the Wildlife Trust talked about 1 in 4 people caring about climate and taking action on climate and biodiversity loss. But that's going to hugely come from young people, and we've got to see that reflection of young people wanting to act. But there's no doubt they want to act, but currently, there's loads of other issues that young people are facing, particularly around mental health and other mental health challenges and screen time and loads of other things that make it harder for them to access the environment outside. So I'm also going to be talking about how it's easier for young people to access the outside. So I do believe that there are more young people who we can engage with climate action, no doubt. Whether they are naturally interested in wildlife or they're interested in other things that tie into their natural world, whether their hobbies lie within art or we can all link them in. But actually getting out is quite difficult for other people. I've used a slide from last year when I did an eco-church thing because I haven't had time, so sorry if it's like not so relevant, but I'll try to link it in. But actually we can help enable young people to get out via encouraging them to be able, by making this a space that's inclusive for them too, that they don't need to do it one particular way. And that actually, whether you're disabled and you can't leave your house, or you find it difficult because you're a young carer, there are loads of ways we can also interact with our natural world. And by interacting with our natural world, we can see the changes that are happening and realize that they can move us into action, as well as providing hope as part of a balance to problems like climate anxiety and burnout. But the other thing is that many youth already care. I see this through my work with Earthing Action, that young people come to us saying, look, we have ideas, but we're tired of trying to put them to people. We want action, but we're only 13, 14, and some people as young as 10 have the imaginations to help promote community change. But whether it's safeguarding or other things that are there to protect us can also prevent people feeling comfortable helping us and enabling us to do things. And I mean, naturally, but we can, so I'm just going to quickly, there we go. So climate anxiety, where I just referred to it, but it's where people who really deeply care, particularly young people, really deeply care about climate change, but because of the maybe feeling that they're disconnected to our communities, that we can't see the action around us happening, that maybe things aren't happening, and therefore kind of a sense of fear of environmental doomism. And that's where community engagement can help, because it provides us with a sense of hope in community, and that other people just like us care and want to make this place better. I experienced this through many years. From as young as 10, I was desperate to get out into local communities. But actually, and I'm lucky enough, I mean, some might know my dad, who's Nick Sanderson from the Broads Authority, and I've got very supportive family and parents with this. But even with that, it's hard to join adult-based climate action groups. And there is nothing necessarily specified for climate action for young people in this area. And without that family support, not because young people, partially because the lack of climate education for adults too, that young people cannot access these spaces that are supposed to provide us with hope and action. Encouraging climate anxiety, as well as meaning that they might be doing action that feels like it's getting nowhere without the adequate support there, leading to burnout. Whoop. But we, as people, can enable more youth to take action and join our communities. There are loads of ways we can enable them. I mean, enable young people. I think the thing is that we assume that there's one type of activist, the one who's got the megaphone, who's shouting down it, making empowering speeches and holding a sign. But actually, there's loads of ways that we can engage people with biodiversity loss, whether that's practical conservation in your churchyards, or nature reserves, or local community spaces, or whether that's and supporting other young people to take action as well, supporting already established groups like Friends of the Earth and your green churches and stuff. So there are thousands of ways that young people can push for climate action. Things that we can provide is support and knowledge, care and opportunity and understanding that these people, young people may lack. It's about maintaining a balance between action and preventing burnout and anxiety as well, which can manifest itself in many different forms. But we need to learn as adults, like the majority of you are, that it's actually good to try and befriend, this is going to do please, but befriend local young people to help them in their action, whether they naturally share an interest with this or perhaps there's a little flicker of a sign, that this can mean building stronger friendships, can make action in any form easier for both parties, and it can prevent loneliness, build community and hope. And things that you can do is help scout out local youth and invite them to your green spaces like churchyards and local green spaces, and just kind of build this kind of community that we can help each other, because again, as by making them feel listened to, rather than running an eco club, perhaps inviting them to work with you to create an eco club / community is where in youth-only spaces, they might feel that there's not the adults to enable them to go into the adult world, or perhaps they're having to enter the adult world and behave like adults in order to get the action and join these clubs. Perhaps working with them to kind of nurture intergenerational connections so we can nurture change for nature. So there's loads of ways we can do it. With regularity, we can check in on the local young people to see how they're doing and whether there's anything we can do to support them. And in adult youth, in adult-led youth groups, perhaps there's the feeling of hierarchy, which is necessary in many means, but maybe having other spaces where we can convene as young people and adults. Because when you're under 18, the opportunities there are your world is smaller. And so building that outer world, building that community to have a better interaction with the world around you and your local community is so, so important. And by uniting us in our humanity, we all want for a better future, and we can enable each other to act and grow a healthy yearning for change that's not affecting our mental health in a negative manner. Another ways you can do that is getting your local adult conservation groups, whether that, to engage with and join forces with Guide, Scout, the MAP, and other local youth advisory boards as well. So youth groups can join forces and work together. And yeah, so please, what I'm trying to say, sorry, very unsuccinct, but that we can, by making young people feel included in spaces even like the church, we can promote positive connections and therefore positive change. So yeah, sorry, that was a very long-winded way of saying that, but thank you for listening to me. And if there is any questions, then I'm willing to take them.